Yes, come to order. And this probably is going to be our norm, that we will be some in person and some virtually all along the way, but that's part of being part of the AV task force. So we're gonna keep trying each time. So I'm gonna ask, in the world of people who have volunteered to share their gifts beautifully and talents. So I'm gonna ask Steve Gunderson if he will lead us off in an opening prayer.
Dear Lord, this month of June, farmers official growth of their planting of the seed. Summer grows into a harvest by fall. Today we ask that the work of this task force might experience the same miracle. Dear Lord, we ask you to shine upon our work in ways that produces a bountiful harvest by fall. We ask that just as you nourish the seed with rain and sunshine, you might also nourish our work with both new information and new ideas. Guide us, lead us, and hold us in the palm of your hands. Wrap your loving arms around us as we seek to grow in knowledge. Shine upon us as we lift up both new thoughts and new recommendations. At the end of our work, we have only one goal. We seek to find ways to increase the sharing of your message to more people in more effective ways. Shine, Jesus, shine upon us and our work. We ask today.
So it's not to break into song. Okay. Thank you very much. Well, and I do believe that every one of our meetings are going to open up with a bit of joy, because Steve and Chris are doing the rotation of opening prayers. And I think between the two of them, you're in for a real treat with every meeting. So thank you very much.
We want you all to know that if these meetings extend into fall and they interfere with the Wisconsin football game, the two of us will not be.
So you've got to know the realities that are I want to thank everybody for the time that you allocated this week for our individual Zooms. I personally benefited greatly from getting to know each one of you just a little bit better and doing some discovery. I also, Lynn, I think you noticed that she has respectfully said she does not want to be part of the task force, but I do believe that Jane and Fred Whitlinger aren't letting her wander far. She did, no, she sent an email to me. She said, she's going to connect with Jane and Fred. So she may not be officially on the task force, but we're not letting her get too far away, because she is a human with opinions that will help us. So for today on the agenda, thank you, Steve, and people who, oh, by the way, why is Lad not on the call? He is over there hiking the Alps. And I can share my, except I'm not on the screen. He looks very happy. Photos, so he's in a good place right now. But Steve did tackle the guiding principles for us as a group, and I just wanted to make sure people weighed in with some thoughts. But are there any other thoughts that anybody has on the guiding principles, so that we can wrap those up so that we keep them handy? Does anybody have anything else they would like to talk about on that?
No, I like the no-rule version. It's precise and just right.
Okay. Everybody, is there everybody okay to accept this there? Sandy's yes, Anthony's yes. Mike, are you good? You're good. And Ernie?
You bet.
Okay, and Jane, are we good? I thank you again for moving it forward. And so we shall go on. So next, I did send everybody what y'all volunteered to do on the task force. So I do want to walk this through so that we have a little bit of clarity, affirmation as we go, and we might be able to add a little bit of what does that mean, clarity, as we head on through. So Anthony has agreed that he is going. he's gonna do the task that no one ever wants to do. If he volunteered, he will capture the takeaways from each of our meetings. And then we will have them so we never get astray of what we were supposed to do. So he agreed to do that. Plus, he's going to create a video where you all will be the stars.
Oh,
All right, so he's gonna create not a long video. This isn't a documentary. It's just a little film that we will be able to introduce the task force to the congregation with a little bit of why we are passionate about this short-term duty that we had accepted. So, Anthony, do you have anything you would like to elaborate on that at this time?
I mean, I think the only thing is like everybody like agree on like one destination of what is the background. That would be like awesome for like everybody interview. And then like the props would be easy. Like we could easily have like, you know, a simple like plant pine and the lighting behind. But I think it's like having the space like to be able to have like lighting implementations into it. So like that people like we like they don't step around while we're doing these like recordings too. I think that's like the only thing that's like important.
Because
What was that?
we might be challenged because a couple of our members are out, not close to Sarasota right now. That we
Okay.
will want, so you'll want to Zoom with Sandy Bodnick, and you're gonna want to Zoom with Marge Jeffers.
Okay,
Oh.
so I'm gonna have to do their recording differently.
Yes, yes, so we'll, put that on your, how to get them into the video. All
Okay.
right, okay, but we can look at one of our upcoming options for those who might be in town is thanks to Ernie, who is going to take us on an AB field trip at SAKLC to show us the goodies in our already in place. And we're going to use the Thursday, June 22nd meeting for. So, all right, well then this is why we didn't get 100%. So Anthony, we're gonna be testing you again on the flexibility for if whoever is not in the June 22nd field trip, you'll want to arrange with the members to capture them at your backdrop that you want when they are available. Now,
Okay.
let's do a check here on who can be at the June 22nd field trip. Who is available? All right, we've got, are the Whitlingers available on June 22nd? It is, it's already, this is not an extra meeting. Mike, are you gonna be able to join that field
I
trip?
don't think so. I think I do have a conflict that day. And yeah, I am not even going to be in Sarasota that day. So I do have a conflict on that day.
So, would Chris and Mike prefer to do a Zoom with Anthony, like Sandy and Marge are doing? Or would you like to find another time to meet with him at the church against the backdrop so you'd be in person?
is fine with me if it works for Anthony, otherwise, either one.
Okay, so Anthony, you and Chris will figure out when you might be able to do it at church, okay? Mike?
Okay.
I'm the same. The 22nd is really my only day that I've got the conflict. So, you know, I would be willing to do it at church some other time, some other day kind of thing. So
So I'll see if I can like make a spot like for the week and like a few days afterwards, like a few days prior and a few days afterwards that like the setup is already set up. So like in case, yeah, that would be implemented honestly. Like, so like if scheduling is a problem about coming in, but I'll have to figure out about like if you're not available to come to Sarasota at all, like a Zoom meeting is probably going to be the best one, but definitely, yeah.
I'm gonna leave Chris, Anthony, Mike figure out their in-person stardom, and then Anthony, I'll defer to you and Sandy in March to schedule their Zoom interviews with you, okay?
Okay.
Okay, All right, are we good on that? Now, Ernie, since you're hosting our next field trip on the 22nd, oh, by the way, we are going to Zoom it. So Mike, Sandy, I am actually going to carry around my iPad. And so that anybody who can Zoom in, which Mike, while you won't even be able to Zoom, I'll be able to send you the recording.
Yep, I'll just have to look at the recording, and that's fine. That's fine with me.
I'm the other one.
Okay, so that's okay, but you'll get the recording then.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have the in-person, the Zoom, and the recording as our standard. So Ernie, is there any assistance you would like at this time from your team for the field trip?
We're gonna be okay. I already checked in with Anthony and he and I are gonna work jointly on it. But in broad strokes, we're gonna look to do a tour through the facility so that we can really look at, what do we have for audio-visual technology in-house to be used in-house? And what do we have that is used in-house to reach outside of house and be able to live stream or archive or Zoom or those kind of things. So it'll try and break up the spaces and talk about Ogram Hall and Fellowship Hall and the sanctuary and the conference rooms, and then look at those both from a perspective of what do we do in those physical spaces for use right there, and what do we do to, connect those to the rest of the universe. So we'll try and go through that kind of an inventory setup to just establish, here's what we've already got. And we may point out some things and here's what we don't have. And that'll just kind of establish a baseline so that we've all got a common understanding of what's already available.
Angels circling on weeks, however, we look at how life plays out. I think it's phenomenal that the AV task force is aligned with Anthony coming on board. Yeah. So Anthony, you're kind of getting an immersion along with us, since we're all trooping into your territory there. So it's a kind of great timing that this is all coming together for the field trip. So Jake?
I have a question. Are we going to use AV out in the garden in the future? I mean, I foresee that there could be weddings out there and things that you might need more speakers and more technical stuff.
So like prior to like me like coming in, they were already doing like what is it? They were doing Easter outside. They were having a lot like services outside. I think it is, and we have like equipment to implement on doing that. I think the only problem is like the more on the visual side, probably. And I think the only problem is weather conditions. So it's like that's honestly between like that was the only problem. It was like they were having live services outside and what's so not, and it was like, oh, okay, one day it did rain, so now we had to take care of like like the equipment. So I think those are the two things that are like more implemented. Is like having more visual aspect that is capability of having it outdoors, and like not having the equipment to be like destroyed by weather conditions.
Yeah. Blended with reality. Blended with reality. Okay, so Marge is not able to be with us today. She does read all of her recordings. So so she's not with us. She volunteered to do the communications for keynotes and connections. So she wants to write and keep updated. She said, now Deborah, I don't want to ever do redundant things. So we have to have fresh things to say in every update. So I said, hey, Marge, we're going for fresh. Okay, so she's got that on her list of what she wants to do. Fred and Jane have decided that they are going to capture, and I am using like 6 different words for what they're capturing. Sometimes I'll say audience, sometimes I'll say customer, sometimes I'll say persona. But the essence is what Jane and Fred are on the hunt to capture. Who connects with us with maybe what ways and what demographics, so that we can be sure we're paying attention to all of the different sorts who connect with us in person and virtually. And we have some information that we're going to send over to Jane and Fred from the, what was it called before? It's Ernie did the growth. Were you a task force before? Or what were you, Ernie? What were you? Were you the pre-growth committee or what were you?
Yeah, last year was a task force, which then resulted in saying there's so much ongoing work to be done going forward that it should become a standing committee.
But Ernie put there's quite some interesting personas that he has put together that we'll make sure that you have if you do not already have for your committee. Okay, all right.
And by the way, as this evolves, I know we're going to depend on asking you for the whole committee to help give us input and creative thoughts on what we think we're gonna develop.
Well, and there will be various uses of what comes out of these lists that you put together, because both Sandy and Chris are thinking about their surveys, about what they would include for people to check off different things. So we'll have the early, and then we'll have, so there will be things that might be a little bit, we need the preliminary lists. So that especially for Sandy's survey that she's gonna work on. So I'm gonna defer to Sandy and Fred and Jane to connect so that you have what you need, Sandy, for your survey. Okay?
I have
Yes.
another question. Anthony, is there a way that when we have Zoom the church service, that people could react to it and we would get feedback?
The live services?
Yes.
Okay, so right now what we have is Facebook. That is the most part that they could like react on feedback like that's like live. So far, that is the most feedback that we could get that is like up to date as the quickest as possible. I'm sorry, like you broke up real quick. I can't hear you.
Can't hear.
I can't hear you. Hi, Sandy.
Hi.
I can't hear
Yeah.
them no more.
Yeah, the conference room has gone quiet.
I'm hearing everybody on Zoom, but nothing from the
Yeah.
conference room. Yeah,
From the conference room, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we got lost like on the last one, right?
yep.
So who is here? You raise your
Okay.
hand.
We can hear now,
Yeah, we can hear you.
but say a sentence because I think it was buffering.
Aw.
Yeah, you're gone again.
Which one is,
The lap. On Zoom.
let's see. Can you hear this?
Yes,
Yes, yes.
very clearly.
Okay, don't leave the room till we check. Would you please ask a question?
So, I was asking whether you could put something on the recording, the live recording saying, visit us on Zoom or on Facebook, and we could have some type of thing that they could at least answer questions or something, or know who they are, or.
So let me first check to see, could you hear Jane speak?
Yes,
Yeah,
Yes, now we hear fine.
some will run and hide. But, you know, there are some people that, this might be their only connection with us completely, that they might want to get to know what's going on.
Well, I think what we can do is, instead of coming up with the answer today, can we put that on our things we are curious about?
Yeah.
Okay, and how we can optimize our technology. Okay, but we're not
Yeah.
losing. I want to make sure that everybody knows his ideas percolate. We might put them on the parking lot for now, but we don't want to lose those. Okay, all right, and that's part of why Anthony's on the team, because he's going to be sure we don't lose any cool ideas as we go. Okay. Okay, so Fred and Jane, okay, they're working on their personas. Over to Sandy, who's agreed to do our initial. Now, I named this, and it's not necessarily the correct name, the Tech Sandy Assessment Survey to embark on. So Sandy, do you have any preliminary thoughts on your survey?
I did a mock-up. I'll read to you if you give me 2 minutes, okay? And this is a first preliminary draft without a lot of pieces. I started it by saying St. Armand's Key Lutheran Church has created a short-term task force to focus on continuous improvement of our technology offerings. We appreciate your response to help guide our work. That can get more to it. The first section was kind of a profile. And I started with St. Armand's Key Lutheran Church member and scrapped it. I think we need to say a regular in-person participant, a seasonal participant, a community participant, an out-of-state participant, and any other aberrations and additions that Jane and Fred come up with, because that's kind of our baseline to start to identify and sort who needs what. Then I moved to participation preferences, and under that I put worship, meetings and events, in person only, primarily in person with some remote, technical options, or primarily remote participation to see what level of users we have. And then I did a section on my knowledge of our opportunities. Feel fully informed about upcoming events and participation options. Not sure I'm aware of all the opportunities and participation options. Unaware of opportunities. My ability to use the available options. Feel comfortable accessing available offerings. Would like some level of training. Would like a contact point if I run into problems. That can get more granularity too. Training would be the training that would be best. Choose more than one or more responses. In person, a video small group, a how-to document reference document. I understand the use of QR codes in our communications, yes or no. I've become familiar with use of our website and the information it includes, yes or no. And then I had 2 free forms. What I enjoy most about our technology offerings, what I think should improve, and the last one, what I've seen others use or do that would be great for us. That's my first 1 hour blow through.
Andy, this is an idea. I wonder if you could ask the question. Have you identified or read the e-learning section of our current website that introduces our church to most kids?
Steve, you're breaking up on me. I'm not hearing it all. Now I don't hear it all.
That's an odd problem.
Yeah, it is.
Squeaky.
Here's.
They say I break up correctly.
Can
So they
anybody,
can't even hear me talking. They're not even responding.
Better than like 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, it's better, but it's not, yeah.
maybe just keep talking to see
Okay.
if it's,
So let me try the question again. I wonder if we could insert in the survey a specific question to identify people's knowledge and capacity. And the question I'm thinking of is, have you searched or read our e-learning introduction to St. Armand's Key Lutheran Church? Because I think that's a really good indicator of A, their ability to get on the website, B, to navigate the website, C, to understand the e-learning module that Lad Skelly created is really critical to introducing the church and its programs, both to its current members and to prospective members. And so I just think an example like that would tell us if we find, for example, that only 10% of the people are even aware of the e-learning module on this website, which I think is going to happen. That tells us where we're at.
So maybe we could, tell me if you can't hear me, but could we take that concept, but approach it from one of the resources we have is, and then comment on it, and we can put the link right in there, rather than finding the yes and no's. It's we actually might have someone who might click on it this day. So if we could approach it from a learning opportunity, that might be interesting. So if there must be a link on the website to get the e modules, so we could pop that into the survey someplace.
Okay. Would you still want the broader website question?
My thought on that one was, instead of a yes or no, perhaps give them a sliding scale of, 1 to 5. 1, I can't even spell www, and 5 is I'm really comfortable with it.
Okay,
So I want to figure out if I need to have Nancy keep standing. So how is the sound at the moment?
there.
Okay, all right. Well, then maybe totally switch to Zoom meetings. I don't know, depending on attention.
what if does that help any? I just turned up the volume.
Yes,
Okay, is that help?
Yes.
Yes.
All
How
right,
we doing?
thank you again. We'll get you if we have some more discussions. All right.
So Sandy, were you
Yes.
planning to catch any demographic info?
this was just me sit down for an hour and think about a skeleton, and there's all kinds of things we could build into it. Yes, we could. I had the in-state or out-of-state at one point and those kinds of things.
Yeah, age might be interesting, and probably a couple others, like how many people are represented in your household. If you're a remote person, are you
Yeah.
one or more?
By the
Okay.
way, a lot of what I think we're overlapping lots, Sandy, so we can work together, because I hear what you say. I just tried to put some ideas down roughly in our minds, and I even had one of the questions, i.e., what bracket might you fit in? Silent generation, baby boomer, and I put the span there. I didn't want to intimidate to say I'm 92 years old. I wanted them to feel more comfortable. I fit in the silent generation.
Yeah.
We were kind of on the same page in gathering those demographics.
So Fred, can you send those over to Sandy?
Sure.
All right.
Well, these were just a way to start with where I thought we were going.
Yeah, I knew we had to talk because you're going to identify more groups than I can imagine.
I want to see if as Sandy formulates the survey, when she gets input from everyone, what would be a reasonable time frame that we would want to to press the button and send it out? I want us to aim toward, remember, we're a task force. So when do we think we would be comfortable targeting the push the send button? Sandy, let me get to you first.
Well, part of it is when we know what we want to find out. And I don't mean to be flippant about that, but I'm not sure I covered everything that we might have a question about, and I don't think we want to do multiple surveys, so we want to be very comprehensive the first time through. I don't know, does the committee need to be a little deeper into its work before we send it out or not? That's a thought. Secondarily, I guess I'm thinking about approach, and I probably would like to work with Fred and Jane first to make sure we coordinate our profile questions. And then I think what I would probably want to do is, you and I talked about maybe me having another sounding board person to work with, but I think what might be better is if after I have next draft of this done, that I would just do a call or an email to each one of you to get a little feedback.
I've got a question now because I see what Andy's doing and I perceived it as really exploring the technical aspect. And I thought our challenge would be explore the entire demographic aspect of what we have. So that we need to, are we just doing it all together as one? Or are we doing it as two separate explorations? My second thought is, right now, we're all focused on sending it out electronically. And I was feeling we had to have two ways of sending it out. We have to reach all the non-electronic friends of St. Armand, as well as the other side. So
Yeah, go ahead. So I think that might I suggest that while we don't want to inundate the congregation with 84 surveys, I do think that we need to have multiple touch points. So I don't think that anybody's going to do a 36-page survey, whether it's in person or electronically. So I think that's to make it any outreach that we do is relatively easy to answer, because part of our guiding principles, I believe, is about making it as accessible and people want to engage and we don't want to repel anybody. So I'd like us to think about what would be logical in terms of how many times we survey in what way. All right. So I think at the beginning, we're trying to assess what's people's acumen. Okay, it's not, we're not judging their behaviors at this time, because remember, part of our early goal was if we can figure out ways to help people move from where they are to one level happier with connecting. So we're trying to get just an early assessment of what people wish they knew more about. I wish I knew QR codes. I wish I knew Zoom. I wish I knew. So I think we're looking for those low-hanging fruit opportunities to say, we know we got stuff, we want people to engage in it. And then I think we also have the opportunity about what would enhance their engagement sets. I don't think we want to get too far into the what's possible, because we don't want to lose the people who think they can't do it anyway. Remember, I've heard more and more times that we've got a lot of people who feel left out, and we want to help them get into the tent a little bit. So I want us to think about what's a logical segmentation of surveying. And Fred, we absolutely have to figure out how to do it electronically and how to connect with the people in the person-to-person department. So I think that, yes, so I don't have the answer. I just have that I know we got to do those different parts.
Building on Bernie said earlier. You might want to have a question. How often do you St. Armand's website? Once a week? Less than once a week, 5 times a week? Because if we have a high percentage of people that never go to the website, that's a real indicator of what our challenge is, because it's an incredible website. There's so much there, and if people can't even use it, then we've got to figure out how we can help them get to that point.
And I'm gonna go into every question we ask, I want to make sure we know that the answer will be helpful. All right, so in the how many times, well, is 3 a good number? Is 5 a good number? So it's could we shift the question in the how do you use the website? I go back to Ernie's going, I don't know what www or a website is, to I check it all the time because I love this part of it. So just Sandy, as you're thinking about your question, it's a combo of figuring out who even knows it and how do people use it. Be helpful for us to figure out what we need to train or help people to take advantage of it.
Okay,
Or you have a thought on that? You can tell something's coming out there.
So the other part that I would add to that is the similar questioning about Facebook. You know, if we find that, you know, people go onto the website, you know, very infrequently, but they're on the website on Facebook every day. They're not on there every day for church reasons, but if they're on there every day, that's a big clue to us that we ought to be using that as a way to, you know, engage them and bring them to other content.
That's a very good point, and I heartily agree. When I checked this out on Facebook, there are good things that we've done in the past, but I would suggest we could greatly improve in adding what's going on this week, what just happened here, there's not a lot current. And so sometimes when people do jump to your page on Facebook and they don't see a lot current, they don't continue to come back. So it's another area that we're survey insight into those different platforms.
That person that doesn't have internet, is there some way we can help them? Have it at church, that they come to church, you go on the internet. I know somebody that doesn't have internet
Comes every Sunday.
every Sunday, and they're lost, they don't know what's going on.
My question, who the other of those used.
Do you think there's many? That's what we see.
So that's one of the ways is in the pew that we would be handing out the survey and collecting the surveys. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to keep, I won't set a target date because I'm seeing it evolving. But I would like Sandy, you to be thinking about when you're comfortable. And I do agree that I think group input and commenting. So whichever way works best
Yeah.
for you.
yeah, I think I need at least another week or so of that before we. Probably a week to work on the questions, a week as well as get some feedback from the individual members. And then maybe another meeting like this till we're comfortable with what we've got. I have a feeling this will be a little bit of back and forth crafting until we see it all in one piece. Because we don't want to ask things that we're not going to use. And we do want to make sure we don't have to go back with another survey too quickly.
So I think, are we okay with the discussion we've had so far?
Yeah.
Speaking of surveys, and getting input. This is not necessarily a survey, but this is Chris signed up to see if this is the moment to ask people as you're out on summer vacation or doing your tour around the globe, what do you see that's cool? So Chris, do you have preliminary thinking?
I just made 2 copies just because this is going to be just a direct here. Okay. I'm looking at this as a light outreach. When Deborah said to me, how can we ask people what's cool this summer? I'm thinking of those people that maybe go to different churches. Once in a while, they're in a different community, they're visiting so and so. So what's cool? What do they see in the world of AV technology that they like? So I'm calling this a light outreach and not a survey. So because I think that survey that Sandy is making and that Jane and Fred are working on sounds comprehensive and foundational to what we need to know. So this is just a little light touch to kind of engage people. So I just grabbed the what's cool this summer with a little visual right now of some popsicles. And I'm thinking of just something that we could put in connections or keynotes, just a little blurb. And so this is just what I wrote. Again, like Sandy, it's light, but no, Sandy's wasn't light. Mine, it also needs to be tweaked. So here's what I've got. What's cool this summer? A word or two from SAKLC's AV task force. We can put that in or not put it in, but I kind of thought, oh, it might get people thinking, oh, there's a task force, it's a connection. And then I put calling all snowbirds, online Zoom users, and well, you. If you are attending church in your home state or checking out different churches over the summertime, SAKL would appreciate your input. We're wondering specifically about how AV technology enhanced your experience. And I've got 3 little bullets. Was there something with the use of sound, music, and or lighting that caught your eye? 2, what have you seen or heard that grabbed your attention? And then 3, how did AV technology help to get the message across? I ended with, we'd like you to be SAKLC's eyes and ears out there this summer and then get back to us. In parentheses, I have figure out how they can get back to us here because I'm not really sure yet. I'll talk to Michael about that. I don't know. Do we have a link to contact Michael, contact me? I don't know. We'll figure that out. And then we could just end it with stay cool. But just to kind of get the congregation or people that we know out there thinking about, hey, what's in here? Yeah, maybe I've seen this. So that's my thoughts so far.
Thoughts from our team?
I know.
I'm watching Steve already have thoughts, and I think Jane has thoughts. Do you want to go first?
One of the things I've already experienced, imagine this, they had the readers for worship service. Sometimes are online worshipers. So rather than just, it's connecting the worship process, not only to those in the sanctuary, but to those who are online. So for example, there's no reason that Sandy Bodnick could not be the reader one Sunday in our church. We just got to figure out the technology so that people in the sanctuary could see and hear her. But think of what that does in engaging.
Yeah.
So that's an example of what's cool. For example, what's cool. Jane?
I don't think we ever step in a church and, with that we're visiting our kids' church without looking around and asking each other, well, what do they have here that we don't have? And be aware of that. Just little things they can change.
Both are affirming why we are doing this. So let's just take a pause in what you heard Chris share. As she's going to tweak it and work with Michael Bodnick to figure out where people send their what's cool ideas so that we can compile and put those together. Anybody have any reactions to her, what did you call it? Light
Additions.
touch? No.
I
light
call it,
touch.
a light outreach.
Light outreach. Does anybody have any recommendations, tweaks you'd like to do on that as she works with Michael and then to get it out there? Mike,
I was just gonna say, I think the popsicle idea is something catchy and, you know, something to draw people's attention instead of just saying, hey, tell us something. You know, I think it's a great idea and it's good.
Well, where Jane was going, thing. We have something visible after the service. Or she even talked between herself and I about something visible happening before the service when these onliners tune in. That would be a perfect spot where this shows up after a service or before a service to connect that group. And then we have to connect the other group also, the group that's few or never.
Affects the entrance. When you walk into the church beforehand or afterwards, there's always different pictures, and that's what I think Fred is saying. If we could put something like this on that.
But I'm also talking about when our service is being transmitted live,
Oh,
that something before that pops up from St. Armand's or after that pops up, that catches them.
I know when it first started, COVID, and we bounced around and looked at other services to see what they had. Some people had, like the president of the congregation come on. It's good to see you this morning. Welcome to our service. We hope that you enjoy it and it's, you know, fulfilling and all this type of thing. If you have any questions, please notify us. An introductory and maybe a close would be so more comfortable. It's not just a
Yeah.
service.
It's not. We want to be part of you and we want you to be part of us, not just get your spiritual fulfillment, but we're a family. And you're part of our family. We feel you're part of our family.
so, yes, yes. Okay, yes. So smallifying with our popsicle soft touch, okay? So could we give Chris the go-ahead to work with Michael Bodnick to figure out how to get this posted in as many places as we could post it and gather? And no doubt, Anthony, you'll be helping us get it up on the screens or wherever it should be. So are we comfortable with Chris going forward with this right now? Is everybody good? I
Yes.
picture
Yes.
something in our fest, we have Sundays with a big life-size popsicle that will trick people to come over and say, what's this about? And Fred and Jane will be manning the table, okay, telling about this popsicle, about what's cool. So I would let that imagination go. And maybe you can get a Lynn to help you with the popsicle. Okay, so as you're working with her on things you can do.
Well, I was thinking about, we ought to just get popsicles for coffee hour.
Go and get, I don't know, a Slurpee or something.
Yes, oh, let your imagination come to reality and make it happen. Okay, what we got, our team is all for it, go for it. Okay, all right, okay, and what I'd like you to do is you're thinking of your many ways to spread the opportunity to participate. Make sure you talk to Marge so that she can put in her, remember she's doing our connection to keynote, so you two can collaborate on how to optimize this, okay? All right, so bravo, we good on this? We good on
Yeah.
this?
Great.
Okay, and Michael B is off at Senate Assembly right now. I think that's, yes, so he is not here today, but he knows he's working with both Sandy and Chris on making sure that we are figuring out how to get surveys and input back in. Because why this is so important is Mike Armour has volunteered to, when all this good stuff comes in, he's gonna be the sorter and the discerner, so that we don't just have buckets of information that we can't do anything with. So he is anxiously awaiting what we discover, so we are not whelmed with the information and data. So Mike, do you have any comments on your enthusiasm for sorting and compiling?
I'm still excited about popsicles, so, you know, until we, you know, we start pulling things together, I'm waiting on the sidelines.
Need the help on how to look at every aspect of what we do. Gratefully received. All right, I'm gonna move on to Steve on what you have agreed to do, in addition to, we know about the opening prayer devotion. For each meeting. Steve is, of course, going to be our liaison with the growth committee, because we as a task force need to stay in our swim lane, but know that we touch the growth task force. And so you are going to be our liaison, but what's one of the ways you're going to educate us about what's happening over on your side of the mountain?
So later today, one of the members of the growth committee and I are going to finalize the outline for next week's growth committee strategic planning session. And we're going to spend much of next week's meeting trying to identify what it is we want to do in 2023-24, the season, up through the season of, next spring. So we'll have a pretty good idea of what the primary growth initiatives are at the church by that time, or at least our recommendations to the council. And then what I will do is I will also bring that back and do a presentation at one of these meetings, so you all are aware of how that fits in to what we're doing here.
And we targeted that for July 18th. Okay, so that whether you're in person or zooming in July, we're going to have that meeting, have a little update from the growth committee's strategic plan, so that we understand and can be complementary to that. So any questions of Steve of what he's doing at this time with us?
I'm right at home.
I think it's Thursday, I think at 10 o'clock.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
all right. So I think we've gone through all the roles, and Land and I are going to get together when he gets back about where he will be happily participating when he gets back. So now I'm going to get into administering the AV task force information. So rather than you keep getting emails with 84 attachments all the time, I would like us to talk about our comfort level as a task force. Do you want to use Dropbox or do you want to use Google Docs? So where's everybody's favorite place? So that again, this is an example of how our congregation's comfort level will be. And I can continue to send out emails with attachments, but I want to see if we are also willing to experiment with either Dropbox or Google Docs. So.
Well, you're gonna go back to educating, I don't know how many of our members, but I'm still on word www.
Well, since the church is a Google administrative system, and since I've had multiple bad experiences with Dropbox over the years, I just think that Google needs to be the answer.
Okay.
We may have lost you again.
Oh, there. So well.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
No.
You're buffering or cutting in and out a little again.
so close to saying goodbye. So we are going to, we're going to ease into you optimizing Google Docs. Can you hear me say that?
Yeah.
We're gonna optimize there, and unless I'm confused, we've done the whole agenda for today. Unless does anybody have anything else they would like to bring up?
Just
Yes.
one thing, if anybody has any thoughts after this or over the weekend, I'll start working on this again Monday morning, but if, just drop me a note or give me a buzz and say, hey, this is something I thought of that I'd really like to know from the survey, so that we try to capture as much as we can before the next meeting.
So Sandy, could you think about to spur us to really participate with you? Could you use this as a Google Doc experiment with everybody? And send everybody the link of where you are, or you don't have to. I'm not pushing.
I don't have it on Google Docs at the moment, but if with a little assistance from the office, we can get it there.
Okay, that sounds. All right, anything else anybody has for the good of the order at this time?
Well, thank you.
All right, thank you all very much. I'm going to cease the record button and say goodbye to everyone. Okay, are we good? Good.
Thank you all.
Thank you.